Well, welcome everyone once again to the Break Thru U podcast. We are super excited to have an incredible individual, someone that is just creating so much change and tremendous impact in her community and the community around her. I want to introduce y'all to Amanda, the executive director of Nashville Angels. Nashville Angels is on all social media platforms. They are an amazing nonprofit organization. Started in Austin is the hub. And so Amanda has an amazing story. I had a brief opportunity to meet Amanda and interact with Nashville Angels about 2 years ago during the food box program, and able to provide food boxes to the Nashville Angels. And if you want more information, Amanda is going to tell you how to get involved in the Nashville Angels. But the Nashville Angels provide support to foster families, not just like, oh, let me give you a little bit of support here and there, but no, they all come out. The amazing community that they have and the network is incredible. And Nashville Angels, there's a lot of nonprofits, but Nashville Angels is probably one of the top nonprofits. If you want to get involved in a nonprofit, look no further than Nashville Angels. And so, of course, I got our other host with us, Ashley Gaylor, who is him and Alex and myself. We make up the Break Thru U podcast, where we focus on breaking through mindsets, breaking through a lot of times we quit halfway through or quit right before we see something happen. Why? Because we just want to give up. We can't endure the pain of the process. We feel like it's just not worth it, and we end up giving up. But the Break Thru U podcast is set up so we can talk to different individuals that are making incredible strides, that are hustle and grind, and that we are making some tremendous impacts in our community. And without further ado, Amanda, welcome to the Break Thru U podcast. We're super excited to have you. I'm super excited to hear more about Nashville Angels and what you have done, what you're currently doing, and what you're doing in the future. And so with that, without any further ado, Amanda, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Like you said, my name is Amanda. I'm the executive director of Nashville Angels and have been since we started. I am a social worker by trade. So I have my bachelor's and master's in social work, which I spent getting in West Virginia. And in grad school, I worked for a group home. And if you don't know what that means, a group home is where kids who don't have a place to go live in a home with staff. So they don't have moms and dads living there. It's just all staff people. And so I was a social worker on site. And through that time, my year there, I really got to see how broken the foster care community and system is. And I was in a much more rural state with less resources at that time. And so it was really kind of cool to get to build a relationship with these kids. And it was even just something as simple as being there when they come home from school and being like, hey, how was your day? Do you have a snack yet? How's your homework? How's that going? Let's get some stuff taken care of. And what really, they just needed one person who showed genuine care for them, could transform their entire life. So after that, I packed up my whole life, moved to Nashville, didn't have a job. I didn't know anybody, didn't see my apartment before I moved into it. Thankfully, that worked out. Packed everything in the van and came here. I worked community mental health in Nashville for about 2 years. But during that time, I had started Nashville Angels. I heard about it on a podcast. It was a chapter that started in Austin, Texas, and they had now become national because their dream was to have a chapter in every major metropolitan area so we could reach as many kids in foster care as possible.
So I got a question really quick.
Yeah.
So what was the connection? So you heard him on a podcast. Was foster care in your background, or like in your family, or like what?
No, since all of my kids in grad school were in the foster care system, I had just developed a really huge passion for that, and knowing there were a lot of broken gaps and there were things that we could do to fix it. I didn't know how to fix it or what I could do, if I could do anything. But I was going to see if there was a way to do that. And my brain works 100 miles a minute in 10,000 different directions. So starting something with having no direction, I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew that was something I wanted to focus on. And so when I heard the podcast and their entire mission was serving foster families and the kids that are living there, and their programs were so simply created, like they doing stuff like this that I'll explain later is not complicated. It's very simple things that make everyone's life involved in foster care so much easier. And so I called and was like, hey, I don't know if someone in Nashville's already started this, but I want in. And they called me back and was like, hey, can you be on a phone call 4 weeks from today? And I thought, sure, why not? And 10 to 12 weeks later, I got an email saying, this is yours. You're now in charge. We need your fundraising goal, your write up. Yeah, here you go. Good luck. And I was like, what did I just get into? And so
That is incredible.
yeah. And so we hit the ground running. I got a board together and we worked to build connections and build network and build relationships with people and just to get them on board with what we were doing. Our biggest thing was just educating people because what we kept seeing was people genuinely just didn't have any idea how bad it was and how bad it could get for some kids. And so after telling people about it, people were pretty in of like, yeah, what can I do? So we took off to Austin in July of 2019, had our official chapter training, and then we got our wings that weekend. So we were officially launched, free-fledged chapter under the national umbrella.
So
Came
you
back.
get your wings when you officially launch?
Yes. So we put our wings on a map in Austin, on our mark in Nashville, and then came back with our team and hit the ground running. Had a huge launch party, did a huge Christmas project where we gave an entire family, we did their entire Christmas for them. I quit my job that December without really having a full salary in place, but I had enough faith and enough trust in what we were building that it would happen. And so I took a leap of faith again and said, I'm going to quit my job so that Nashville Angels can have my full attention. And then COVID happened in March. So um, we had a hard time fundraising. I think most nonprofits did that year to an extent because it was something new we were navigating, but we knew we wanted to serve kids and we had to get creative how we were going to do that because our Love Box program is our whole mission on that is to connect the community to the foster families. And so we recruit groups of volunteers, whether it's a business, a church, a family, a group of friends, and we get them together, we background check and train them, and then we connect them to a foster family within so many miles of where they live. And so then they get to go into these homes and spend time with these families. So they're getting to know these families. They know the things they like and dislike, and they take a physical box with them just full of things they might need, like paper goods and laundry detergent and dish soap and snacks and things that the average person doesn't think about. Oh, if I have 4 to 5 more kids come in my home, I'm going to go through these things so much faster and those bills add up. And so even something as simple as just bringing those kinds of things to their home and just checking in on everyone makes a huge difference. 50% of foster homes close within a year. And so our whole thing is, we already don't have enough foster families as it is. The least we can do is support the ones that we do have so they can keep taking kids into their home and keep continuing doing the work. And so our entire Love Box program is a complete wraparound support system. So foster parents, children in foster care, adopted children in the home, biological children. We want to make sure that every single person in that home is getting the attention and support they need to continue moving and setting them up for success long term. And the big reason for that is on average, a child in foster care can move 7 times in 2 years. And I've known kids who have moved 12 times in a matter of months.
That is crazy. That is crazy. And a lot of times, I don't know, Ashley, if we were talking about something, someone was talking about it was a nonprofit or someone where they have to just put all their clothes in a trash bag sometimes. And there was this other nonprofit or organization that was collecting suitcases for foster care. And it's insane to think that a child moving 7 times and not knowing when they're going to get the knock on the door that, hey, you got to move now. I mean, it's like I can't even.
What causes is it the like the situation? Is it funding? The folks that they're with can't do it anymore? Is those all reasons, all of the above? Is
So
what happens?
a lot of kids in foster care, especially if they've been in the system for a while, they've already been traumatized in some capacity. That's why they're in foster care.
Yeah.
But then if they've moved around some before, they have a hard time building attachment. And sometimes they have behaviors and they act out and they do things that biological kids may not be used to or parents may not be used to. And so some parents just feel a huge lack of support and they just say, I can't do this. I really wanted to, but I can't. Well, now that child has to move to another home who then again might have the same experience and just keep being moved around and moved around and moved around, or they might end up in a group home or a residential facility somewhere else across the state because there's nowhere else for them to go. And so out of all the children we've served, none of our kids in our monthly program have moved. And we've had kids in our program for over a year and had zero movement. And that's unheard of in some places of some kids. And so we can see that just building support around these families is helping already. We're already seeing that.
What are some of the numbers in Tennessee? Like, or, I mean, probably, I mean, off the top of your head, I mean, or some of the numbers just with in general that people don't really understand. I mean, there's so many kids in foster care in the state of Tennessee, and the percentage of those kids being adopted is a very fraction of the percent of that. And then a lot of kids that just stay in the foster care system. And then once you turn 18, they just kind of like put you out and you're on your own.
Yeah. So right now there's about 9,000 kids across the state of Tennessee in foster care, and there's a little less than 5,000 open foster homes across the state. And you got to think in some of these smaller, more rural areas, there are less foster homes in those spaces, where in Nashville, we might have more because we're in a bigger city. But then you go somewhere out to like Cookeville or somewhere in like East Tennessee or West Tennessee, they may not have foster homes at all for these kids to go. So now they're being moved across the state to a home that can take them.
Yeah, it's crazy because I was looking at some of the numbers and I could probably have these numbers wrong, but you're right. It was like a little over almost like 9,800 kids, and then like 1,100 of those 9,800 were adopted. But it is just mind blowing how these kids live. And then Nashville Angels come in. What is the brighter side with Nashville Angels and the kids and the families that you serve? Like, how do you come alongside of them? Projects that you've done in the past, currently doing, like supporting these families? Because you're right, some of these families are, they kind of know, like, hey, I'm gonna foster. They go through classes, but then when you get your first child or twins or siblings, it's like, oh, wow, you weren't expecting. It's crazy because going through life, I don't really think that we are like, you have a kid biologically. They don't give you an instruction manual for
sure.
how to raise a kid. They don't give you, they try to prepare you as much as they can on foster care, but still going through a class and being there in person is totally different.
Yeah. Like so some simple things that we've noticed that parents really love is we'll do meal deliveries and like DoorDash meals for parents and families on like a weekend or during the week if they have a busy week going on. Like the Love Box group that we serve, the mom hates to cook, and I'm okay with that. So we'll deliver food a couple times a month just to take that off of her, just to give her that space to be like, you know what, I'm not responsible for dinner tonight. They're ordering pizza, and then we can throw everything away. We don't have to do dishes. We don't have to do anything with it. Doing things like babysitting, like, hey, mom and dad, you guys need a date night. So we're going to take the kids. You guys go enjoy your day, and everyone will be fine when you get back. Or just things like, hey, let me get the kids from school so you can go to the grocery store and do whatever you need to do, and I'll take them to the park and feed them and bring them home. Just little things like that kind of gives them a break and some space. And we've done some where we just keep the foster placements and they go off with their biological kids just to have some time with their kids, because the biological kids are going through just as much a transition as any foster placement the parents are going through, especially if there's like large age gaps where there are babies in the home now and you have older kids. It's like, well, I know all the attention has to go to the baby because they need it, but I want to hang out with my mom and dad too. And so we kind of just, every group gets tailored specifically to what their family needs. So none of our programming is completely uniform, which is what I love, because every family in our program gets what they need the most out of their love box group. And so we get to do that continuously as they serve throughout the year.
So, majority of foster children, are these, I'm just curious, orphans or children that have been removed from families because it was an unstable situation?
Yeah, most of them still have parental rights attached, which makes things harder. And so we have some families that are open foster to adopt, and some that are we just foster them as they come and go.
They just need a place to go for now.
For now, yeah. But the ones that we have right now that have had these kids for a year, 2 years, like it's leaning more towards adoption. But the court system is so far behind, and there are things that come up, and mom or dad really want to give it a try, but then they don't quite make it, and so it just prolongs it. We had our first adoption last October, and they had those kids for almost 3 years before adoption was finalized.
So it's the children are a byproduct of their situation because with their behaviors, and then you've probably got some of those things to where they're not really, but they know that they're not going to be there. So what's it, in the back of their mind, it's like, well, I'm going to be gone in a week anyway. I might as well, whatever, so it's,
And especially older kids don't usually are not adopted. They usually, especially once you hit like 10 to plus like teenagers. And so for them, if they do get placed in a foster home, they're like, I know I'm not going to be here long, so I don't care.
Yeah.
Because they're just so used, that's what they've grown up in, is being moved around and shuffled around so much. They don't expect to be able to stay somewhere for a long period of time.
Yeah, they're a byproduct of their situation, which they have no control over, and it's not their fault. It's just the situation, and it's just human nature, really. It's so that's incredible that you guys are doing what you can to try to ease that burden on the families and the children themselves.
So the different. So you got the love box, right? You got love box, which is like a gift box, right? That and then you have a love church, which a church supports a certain amount of foster families, or how does that?
So usually if we have a bigger church, if there are foster families in their church, we usually try to connect them to their own church families. But we have some churches who don't necessarily have the volunteer and the time to give, so they'll do drives for us so we can build love boxes to give out in bulk. For like families on our wait list, or families who we haven't quite found a match for yet. Because our matching process, we want it to be as seamless as possible, so that they're not getting multiple volunteers of different love boxes because that one didn't work out or that one didn't work out. We don't want to just throw them together. We want to make sure it's a good fit for everyone involved, because we want the volunteers to be encouraged that they can serve this family. They want the family to feel like, oh, these volunteers really are pouring into our family and what we have and what we need. And so every foster family in our program has a specific love box group that is attached to them. And right now we have 6 per month right now.
What's the Dare to Dream?
Yeah, so that is our mentoring program. We are actually fixing to launch it finally 2 years later. We're finally about to launch it. And so that is our curriculum-based mentoring program for the kids who are at risk of aging out. So that 15 to 22 age range. Because like you said earlier, when kids turn 18 in foster care, they're given their things and they're asked to leave unless they're in a foster home that's giving them the opportunity to stay. But usually most 16 to 18-year-olds are living in a group home or a hospital somewhere. And so once they turn 18, their time is up and they're on their own. And a lot of these kids don't know anyone or have anyone they can rely on. So our Dare to Dream program teaches them life skills and helps them find housing and helps them find a job and get into college, and things like, here's how you budget, and here's how you open a bank account, and here's how we go to the grocery store and shop for ourselves and cook for ourselves, and just help set them up for success as much as we can. Because if they've been living in a group home or a hospital they haven't had any kind of that interaction one-on-one to really pour into them and teach them about life and help prepare them for what's coming next. Because if they sign a piece of paper and stay in foster care till 21, the state will pay for them to go to college, which is a huge benefit to them. But most teenagers have been so let down by this system. The last thing they want
Mm,
to do is sign a piece of paper to stay in the
yeah.
system longer. And so then you have to kind of encourage them that this is bigger than that piece of paper. This is your education. This could give you a future that you want. We want that for you. So what can we do to help get you there?
Hmm. So you also, I was noticing UT research. Or is UT Knoxville partnering with y'all with research?
So University of Texas in Austin has been
Okay.
researching this our programs for I think over a year, and we just got their final report. And basically, what it has shown is these programs do work, and so we're using that to work on getting grants and to showing donors like, hey, our programs work, and this is how we know that it's working across the country.
And then I was also looking at your, of course, anybody out there that's either watching this or listening to the podcast, you can actually, what are different platforms that Nashville Angel are on currently?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram and Facebook, just at Nashville Angels Nonprofit. We just launched a LinkedIn page. People on my board were like, hey, that's an important thing we should be on. I was like, I don't know anything about that, so you're going to have to help me. But it's been working out really good. We've been building connections for like event sponsors and more donors and just opportunity to go and speak to bigger companies about what we do. Because the more people that we educate and tell them what we do, the more kids get served in the long run by our community as a whole.
I
That is
mean,
incredible.
and it is incredible, and it's so very like like what we're doing over here is we're partnering schools in the Nashville area right now, trying to help kids get right there. This is our future. I mean, we got to try to do them off on the right direction, and I was of this, it's you don't know what you don't know, right? Until you get into it and you start learning about it. And there's so many organizations out there, but then you hear about something, what's going on. I mean, it's we got.
I think it's Ashley's turn now.
I think I lost him. I didn't hear what he said.
Did I freeze up?
Hey, what's the 13 miles for 13 homes? That like jumped out to me too.
Yeah, so we had a local artist who we've been working with since we started, who had set out to run the half marathon in April. And so he had called me last summer and was like, hey, I want to do this, but I want to do it for a cause. And so we got him geared up. He was training for the marathon. And then we ended up getting an intern from the University of Alabama who aged out of foster care in the state of Alabama. And she decided she also wanted to run to raise awareness and raise funds. And I was like, awesome. We were sitting down, we were talking about it. And she called me and she said, I know what I want to do to raise money for this race. And I was like, okay. She actually lived in 13 different homes from going into foster care to now.
Wow.
And so a half marathon is 13 miles. So we created this entire campaign that she was going to run a mile for every home that she lived in alongside Stephen. Just raise awareness for foster care and raise funds for us to pour back into our kids this summer for back to school and for Christmas later this year. And so it's actually something we're already starting. A bunch of us are going to start training, I think, to run next year under the same campaign.
Count me in.
Come on, I'm ready.
Yeah, that would be.
I'll do
that's
incredible.
13. That's some really cool stuff. What do you have coming up, or what are you currently doing right now, Nashville Angels?
Yeah, so we are planning a golf tournament and a gala for later in the year. The golf tournament's in August and the gala is going to be in December. We're going to have some cool speakers and some artists worked for that. And then we're planning back to school bash. So backpacks and haircuts for kids getting ready for school and school supplies and just a fun end of summer day. And then we're planning stuff for Christmas. We haven't decided exactly what we're doing for Christmas this year because now we have more freedom and less restrictions community wise this time. So we'll be able to do more, we think. So we want to make sure we do something really good and really big where we can serve as many kids as possible for Christmas. Um, so I'll keep you guys posted once we know more about Christmas. But those are our big things coming up.
Where do you see Nashville Angels in the next 2-3 years?
2 to 3 years, I hope that we are full of a staff, because the more staff we have, every staff serves, between 35 and 40 cases. And if that's the case, if we had 5 or 10 staff, that's hundreds of families being served every month, or like either families or teenagers aging out. So in 2 to 3 years, I'd love to us be serving, well over 50 to 75 families a month.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what I'd love to see us doing.
And you probably are always looking for volunteers, always looking for sponsors, financial sponsors, to come alongside and help y'all with that. That is incredible. That is incredible. If you could sum the Nashville Angels in maybe one sentence or one word, what would that be?
I think honestly, we're just trying to build community for really great people who are serving kids in our whole universe here.
One thing that I like doing, and we all, and Ashley and Alex and all of us, it's developing ourselves and really spending that time developing ourselves. I mean, even though like we lead nonprofits, we're heavily involved in nonprofits, we tend to give more than what we receive. It's very important, I think it's very important that we have mentors that we can go to, and that we also develop ourselves either through podcasts or reading a book, audiobooks, YouTube. So how do you pour back into yourself on a daily basis to keep you full and energized to keep going?
Yeah, I love being outside as much as I can. So whether it's a hike or a walk outside of the park or just working out in general, I love to read books. I love to read books that are developmental for me, like leadership books and what it's like to run a nonprofit and fundraising and what it means to ask and to do that. But I also love to read just like books where I can kind of veg out and not really have to focus or think too hard. I can just kind of enjoy it.
What's your most recent book, or the book you're reading currently right now, or your most favorite book?
I just read The Unhoneymooners. It's like a rom-com book.
Okay.
And I'm in a little book club that meets once a month, and we're getting ready to start. It's a popular book, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I think it's like a Hollywood, like 50s style book. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then I love to cook and bake. That's just something very relaxing for me to get to do and not have to talk to anyone or really do too much. I can kind of work with my hands and be creative. Anything like that just kind of helps, kind of just allow me to relax some and not look at my phone or not be at the computer, and allow to kind of just recharge.
Ashley's a grill master. Ashley's all things barbecue and grilling.
Nice.
That
I am.
He can grill.
That's awesome.
I am, and that's one of the things I do is, like you said, food is a great, and no screen time, right? Yeah. You just got to draw a line in the sand and say, I'm taking a few hours here.
Yes.
I'm putting all the devices away and I'm just going to cook something good to eat, and just enjoy it. Enjoy, being at home, you know what I mean? So, and that is a great way to pour into yourself. It really is.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for taking your time out of your schedule to spend some time with us here on the Break Thru U show. And we really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I know Ashley really appreciates it.
It's always a pleasure to get to meet other folks that are out here servicing the community and what capacity that they're doing, right? Yeah. This is what you're doing. Everybody's got a part of what they do to try to help the community, and it all comes together as a whole, right? And then
Absolutely.
just learned something new today that I didn't even ever think of. You're right. You know, it's incredible. It's so
What was
thank
that,
you so
Ashley?
much. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yeah.
What was
Thank
that,
you so much for
Ashley?
having me.
Huh?
What'd you learn?
You know, I didn't, you know, I knew that there was foster care out there, but I didn't know, you know, I had a general idea how it was supported, but I didn't even think of these things like, you know, coming to pick the kids up, giving the parents a break, the acclimation period. You know, I've always heard that, you know, kids don't, you know, sometimes can come into a home and things not go as planned, but, you know, you really don't know the reasons why, right? As a society, we're always quick to judge, and I try to
Yep.
refrain from that because you don't know what somebody's going through.
Absolutely.
And it's hard not to do it off the top of your head, right? It's hard.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
But then when you hear about a child, say you got a 10-year-old kid that has been moved around 12 times in 2 years, that little guy's going to be hard to handle. And
Absolutely.
it's not his fault.
Exactly. It's not his fault.
And then you talk to folks that are dealing with this, and it makes you understand, you know, it's not their fault. And it's a lot easier just as a society to be like, move on, you know, but you know, that kid might go on to do something great if he just has somebody to hang in there with him and be able to, you know, so
That's where those mentorships are so vital, like pairing them up with a male, with a female, like having that, because I mean, I don't really, I'm putting out, I don't really care what people say. There's nothing like a father that can take a youngster, a young man, and really mentor that young man. And, you know, it's, and I think that, well, I don't think, I know a lot of people don't want to see it, but a lot of the big problem is absentee fatherism in the home. And, you know, I was watching something, Denzel Washington, they were talking to him, and he was like, it's all starts in the home. Once they get to the system, it's too late. Once they get into the system, it's too late. Like, we got to do a better job with getting them and being a support to these kids when they're young, when they're still somewhat impressionable, and being able to be molded and formed. And you know, I don't know if it's true. I heard scientifically, I could be off, but they say like once at 3 years old, like your personality and characteristics are already like there. And so it's these young kids, they go through so much and they build up these calluses that we need more. We need more volunteers, but we also need more men that are good, of good character, to come alongside a lot of these young people and mentor them and show them and take time out of their busy day to really spend time to help. And so there's so much that people can do. If you're out there watching this and you're listening to the podcast, like get involved with Nashville Angels, like financially, like give them money, donations, and your time, and get involved at going through a background check so you can pick up the kids, you know, and allow these foster parents to be able to have a night out on the town, or do whatever you can do. And so, Amanda, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your burden, appreciate your passion and your desire, and the grind and the hustle. And sometimes, you know, you may not get the thankfulness that you are due, but we just I had to have you on here, and y'all are just doing some amazing things. And however we can partner with you all through either through the podcast, through Break Thru Nashville. We have a pretty great board. We have a very great board, very proactive, and whatever we support, we can help y'all with. We're here for y'all.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for allowing us to kind of come on and just tell about what we do. And yeah, if you're watching or listening even if you're unsure, like I'm happy to meet with you. Come out to a community event, you can dip your toes in before you dive full in. If you want to dive full in, we'll happily take you too.
That's absolutely, that's incredible. We're gonna do all we can do to support you guys, and I know personally I'm gonna be reaching out because I'm gonna
Awesome.
get involved too. So
Great. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
you know,
Definitely.
as you know, at the end of the day, like I said before, these kids are our future, so we got to do all we can do to help
Yep.
support them. I raised 4. They're you know, they're all doing their own thing now, adults, but you know, it was the time of my life, you know, so
Yep.
raising my kids. So
Awesome.
and I wish all children can have that experience of a
Yeah.
family, you know. So
I would love to get you to come out to one of our board meetings, Amanda, and just
Okay.
talk to us. I think that would be incredible.
Yeah.
Maybe in June,
Yeah.
June or July, we'll get together with you. We love
Okay.
having guests come in and just talk to us because, like, I mean, I didn't know about Nashville Angels until, you know, I was on social media just scrolling through and trying to look for, you know,
Yeah.
partnerships and Ashley. I mean, you're Ashley, your how you feel is the way I felt initially. I was like,
yeah,
what? But it's
yeah,
just incredible. There's some incredible organizations out there that are doing incredible things, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we get the opportunity to share that. So thank you again.
Thank you.
thank you,
Have a
thank you.
wonderful rest of the evening, and we will talk to you soon, Amanda.